Hi. Hi, my name is Karen Slusher, and this is my video introducing my ePortfolio for Fort Hays Graduate Education Leadership Program. Just a little bit about me. I work and teach in the Cherry Creek School District in Denver, Colorado. I really got into this program because a district level communications position was posted, and I was very interested in that, and I really just decided that that was something I wanted to pursue. Since then, I've grown an interest in professional development in terms of kind of giving teachers some forward thinking in terms of opportunities and what they want to potentially do. My leadership philosophy really centers around this quote from Charles Kettering, where he says, "There exist limitless opportunities in every industry. Where there is an open mind, there will always be a frontier." And I think this is really who I am as a leader in terms of my teaching style and my goals for just being on top of what opportunities are potentially out there for us to evaluate and experience. And so I really shaped a lot of my learning around this idea in terms of what could we change, what can we make better, what can we do differently. In terms of my program study, I think I really developed this when I took the class on curriculum, just to discover new ways to think about learning, to think about what we do and how we do it, and whether or not it exists in a 21st century type of style. I think it also was shaped within the leadership-based classes, and so it really helped me understand a little bit more about leadership style and how my style can help bring this out in other people that I work with. You'll notice on my resume that I was an activities director at my school for the last couple of years. When I started this program, my principal decided to give me an opportunity to work part-time in this office just to gain more leadership experience, and so that's part of what I did over the last couple of years. And so definitely some different experiences within that. I also have been an English teacher and a publications advisor, which I think in terms of my experience, I think it helps me better see the secondary classroom because it gives me a sense of both the core classes and the electives classes and how that impacts people. When I chose articles for my bibliography, I really wanted to get a variety of insights. And so I looked at testing, I looked at classroom spaces, I looked at just different things that are shaping what 21st century is right now. And I think that that's an important component. One of the things that I really wanted to look at as well was this article that addressed STEAM instead of STEM. I think that sometimes the arts are getting lost, and we need to make sure that that is not a situation within our school district. Our school district is probably one of the best ones for both STEAM and for the arts, and so I want to make sure that that stays true if that's something that I'm working on. As far as my activities went for my experiences and my hours, I was really excited to get some different opportunities, such as working with the school superintendent on gathering feedback after making some changes to the school start times to see how that impacted our students. I also was able to attend a couple of different classes. I did one on cognitive coaching, and then I did another one on Beyond Diversity. Both of these classes are offered up to school leaders, and so this gave me a chance to really get some education surrounding what it is that we do. I also sat on a couple of different committees. So when my school assistant principal was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, they had me shift in and take over the graduation planning. And so I sat on the district meetings for graduation and really making sure that I had a sense of what was going on, but also contributed feedback and ideas to how graduation would be shaped over the next 4 years. And so that was definitely very helpful. I think my favorite district event, though, was going to the Board of Education meeting. I know meetings don't always have the most excitement to them, but I think it was really good to hear what was happening within our district from the board's perspective and some of the work that they're doing. But I also got to coach these two students from my high school to present that night. And so it wasn't just attending, but it was also helping them share their experience on how education in our district had transformed who they are. And so that was a really cool opportunity with the two of them. My elementary hours were definitely a little bit different. I focused a lot on working with the parents and school leaders to make sure that we were providing opportunities and events for elementary age children to make sure that what they were getting was exactly what they needed. And so meeting with them and talking with them was a great way for us to kind of collaborate and come up with good advertising and communication that would go out to all of them. One of my experiences too was that I was the administrator overseeing a local camp. And so I worked with an elementary school that allowed an outside company to kind of host this camp on site. And so I was kind of the on-site point person and ended up actually coaching some of the kids too. So they let me jump in and participate in that way as well. And so it was fun to see these kids who were all low-income families be able to have an opportunity that they normally wouldn't have. That some of their peers in our district are really privy to. And so that was a nice opportunity there. And then I also sat in and I was the basically like supervisor for the Timberline Elementary School band. And so when they participate in the homecoming parade, it was a way for me to work with those kids and to be there for them so that they were able to participate in a nice community event. My secondary activities, I think, were pretty a wide variety of different things. I definitely observed a lot of events or supervised a lot of events, from band concerts to art shows to soccer games to football games. And so there were definitely a lot of things in there, a lot of these that I didn't even record. But I think one of my favorite things was just being able to be a part of leadership team meetings. And so you'll see this is kind of what my notes would look like from those meetings. It was a chance for me to learn how they would make decisions, how they would interact with one another, how they would break down significant dates, significant needs. And so kind of just talking through some of those things. And so I sat in on those. I got to sit in on those regularly, especially after the assistant principal was diagnosed with cancer. This kind of became one of the ways that I knew how to help fill in for him. And so it was definitely beneficial. I also supervised a student trip out to a convention where they learn more about journalism. This is nice from an administrative standpoint because the organization also presents classes specifically for administrators in terms of understanding how to support those classes and also to understand the legal side of student media. Some of the other things I did, so again, supervision, but the other things that I did revolved around communication. And so I did a lot of the social media. So I was tasked with kind of overhauling our school's social media and making sure that our community had a way to connect with us, to see what was going on, to present just day-to-day life within the high school. And that was really kind of a fun and challenging experience because it's hard to be in a lot of those places at once. The last thing that I want to highlight is this situation, because we found out this fall that after making the change to the school start times, our school district was going to fall short on some of the seniors' graduation hour requirements. And so we had to rethink how to build those hours back in without creating too much of a disturbance in terms of the learning environment. And so my principal called me in and asked me to rethink the final schedule and to build in more hours that hadn't existed in there initially. And so what you'll see is the document that I put together to present what would work. And this document ended up being what the entire school district used. So they ended up asking for my version of this and then changed it for each of the schools to reflect their school names and school colors. So that was kind of a cool way to make a difference and make an impact district-wide, but specifically for how our school managed to make sure we accommodated every single requirement for the state. Through all of this, I think my reflection was really one of the things that surprised me the most. And when I sat down to write this, I was struggling with what I was going to say. And then as I started to process and think about my experiences, I realized that I came into this with a very straightforward, like I thought this was how it was going to be. I looked up to my principal, and I still do, and I think she's a very good leader. But I think she has a misconception of what her leadership style is. I think she perceives herself to be a democratic leader, when in fact she's much more autocratic. I think she really functions with authority, which was what we needed when she took over as principal at our school. She transformed what we looked like, how we were perceived, how we operate, and I think it just changed the overall feel of our school within the district and within the state. And I think that was a really important thing. However, I think her leadership style is outdated for what our school needs now. We've been reading, so last year we read Professional Capital, and this year we've been reading Leaders Eat Last as department coordinators. And I think those two books have really shaped my understanding of how leaders really need to be in terms of a forward-thinking, open-minded growth mindset kind of a situation. And I think our principal has probably run her course and probably has years ago, and that her leadership style would have been much better moving on to a couple of the other schools in our district that needed the same transformation that we did. I think right now we need a much more open leadership mentality, and I think we need to be in a place where we can empower our teachers and our other school leaders to step up and to make a difference. And I think people are afraid to act without her approval. And so I think this was really, really big. I think the part for me is that this is really what I thought needed to really get this kind of going, is this whole idea of how people would just sit and wait for her to kind of state what they thought or what she thought, and that we would kind of respond based on what her ideas were. And it kind of surprised me, but then I started to kind of think about my own meetings with her and how nervous I would get just going in and sitting down and telling her what I thought. These bi-weekly meetings that I had with her, where she kind of gave me feedback, just became a little bit scary. And so this is something that I really think has shaped who I want to be as a leader, and I want to make sure that I'm transforming other people. And so if I were to become a school leader, I really want to focus on these things that I believe to be true. And so this is really the heart of my synthesis and the heart of my experience through the Fort Hays program. I hope that this has helped give you kind of an overall view of me and of my thinking and my experience, and I look forward to talking more about this. Thank you.